Welcome to This Explainer. Before we begin, I just want you to take a real deep breath. Feel your feet firmly planted on the ground. Settle in. Today, we're going to look at our professional lives through a completely different lens. We so often treat the workplace like it's this vast gray machine, right? A place where we're all just cogs. But the source material we're exploring today asks us to see our work life as a living, breathing inner ecosystem, a lush landscape where our truest roots actually reside. So let's dive into the profound, beautiful art of what it means to truly be at work. So, who are you when the noise of all that doing finally stops? Just let that question sit with you for a second. When we strip away the impressive titles, the endless to-do lists, that heavy armor we strap on before a big meeting, what actually remains? We spend the vast majority of our waking hours at work, and yet so many of us are just sleepwalking through our days in a state of quiet exhaustion. Consider this an invitation to look beneath those masks and just listen to the quiet, steady voice of the soul underneath. Let's start our journey with Chapter 1, The Echo Within. To really understand this journey, we have to make a pretty fundamental shift in how we think. On one side, we have this mask of doing, what our French sources perfectly describe as savoir-faire. This is our mechanical output. It's the rigid metallic armor we wear just to survive the 9 to 5. And let's be honest, it is incredibly heavy, and it is exhausting to maintain day in and day out. But on the other side, we have our roots of being, or savoir-être. This is your organic, absolutely authentic essence. See, society trains us relentlessly in doing, but we are rarely taught the profound art of simply being. And relying entirely on the machine, well, that's exactly what leads to burnout. Moving on to Chapter 2, The Art of True Being. So how do we actually transition from a rigid machine to a living, growing root? Well, it's an active art form, and it requires an immense amount of self-compassion. Savoir-être is not just about, basic workplace politeness or networking. It is a living, breathing harmony that bridges 3 vital realms: harmony with yourself, harmony with others, and harmony with the broader world around you. It's a radiant reconnection to your absolute core. You're no longer just playing a corporate role. You are fully incarnated, fully alive in your own presence. And when we cultivate this kind of inner harmony, something magical happens. True leadership just naturally blossoms. It starts by cultivating deep inner transparency, because you really cannot fake this kind of soil. You have to align with your deepest personal values and awaken your emotional intelligence. And when you do that, you inspire others through genuine human connection, rather than just the dominance of a job title. You earn respect organically. It's very much like a deeply rooted tree that just naturally provides shelter for everything around it. Which brings us to Chapter 3, Storms as Silent Messengers. We all run into chaotic weather in our work lives, right? The overwhelming stress, the interpersonal conflicts that just drain you. I want you to hear this quote: "Emotions are messengers of our deepest unwatered needs." I'd love for you to hold on to that like a gentle mantra. When you feel a sudden surge of anger or deep sadness at your desk, it is not a flaw in your character. Those are just vital weather patterns. They're literally knocking on your door, signaling that a deep, fundamental value of yours is being starved of light and water. For so long, we've been taught to view emotion in the professional sphere as this dark, heavy burden, something that needs to be hidden away so we can keep looking professional. But the art of being flips this narrative completely. It asks us to look at emotion as a brilliant guiding compass. We have to stop fearing our own sensitivities and actually welcome them in from the cold. These intense feelings, they're gifts. They are the exact guides you need to illuminate your hidden boundaries and your truest desires. Let's explore Chapter 4, Tending Your Own Roots. Once we finally recognize our emotions as these brilliant compasses, we have to practice radical responsibility. We stop complaining about the harsh external weather, and we start looking closely at our own roots. You have to ask yourself, are you planted in soil that actually shares your deeply held values? It's time to conduct a loving, totally non-judgmental audit of your ecosystem. Does your current role genuinely nourish you? Because honestly, if the soil is toxic to your specific roots, no amount of resilience training is going to help you bloom. To really change your experience, you have to cultivate inner sovereignty. This means fully embracing your fundamental needs without a single ounce of guilt. Just completely releasing the instinct to blame the company weather, which honestly only leaves us feeling powerless anyway. Instead, we claim creative power over our own inner reactions. Look, we can't control the winds of the market or the economy, but we hold this immense, beautiful power over how we nurture our own inner landscape. When you realize that, your daily work stops being a grind and it transforms into this fascinating laboratory for self-discovery. And finally, we arrive at Chapter 5, The Grace of Acceptance. Moving into true alignment requires a final step of, well, spiritual surrender. Our sources map out this natural cycle of healing so beautifully. First, there's gentle awareness, just dropping our denials and really seeing what is. Second, and this is by far the hardest part, acceptance. It's about infusing our reality with deep self-love rather than harsh judgment, and finally stopping the fight against the reality we're actually in. Only then, in step 3, can we take responsibility. We see clearly, we lovingly accept, and then we boldly choose our path forward. This is perhaps the most striking piece of wisdom from our sources today. Accepting what is, even if it is not our preference, acceptance is just incredibly powerful. It is never a defeat. Rather, it's a graceful surrender to the current of reality, so we can finally stop drowning in our own exhausting resistance. Think about it. When we truly accept a painful career setback, we free up all that energy we were wasting trying to fight it. We reclaim our power. Consider this deeply touching story from one of our sources. In his past, he clung to a very rigid vision. He wanted, more than anything, to be a classical dancer. But life seasons shifted. The dream didn't manifest the way he planned. Now, rather than drowning in bitterness, he surrendered to the present moment. He accepted it. And because of that grace, his future opened up in these miraculous ways. He found a completely new way to dance, not with his physical body on a stage, but with words, with energy, and with profound presence. Letting go of a depleted dream is exactly what allows us to bloom in entirely unexpected ways. As we close out our journey today, I want you to remember this. You hold incredible power over your inner landscape. You are not just a worker. You are a deeply rooted, radiant human being. As you step back into the flow of your day, look at your emotional compass, honor those deepest values of yours, and ask yourself, where will you choose to gently bloom today? Thank you so much for exploring the art of being with me. Take care.